Hi everyone. In the last video we added items and we displayed them on the screen by looping through the array of items. Now in this video we'll make sure that we're able to select items and then to edit them and delete them. So let's get into this. First, to be able to select them, I'll go to my shopping list component here and I'll add a new property which I call selected item, which will be of a type name amount number. Now, as I said, it's pretty annoying to always having to write this whole notation here, this whole declaration, right? Let's make it a bit easier. I'll add a new file to this document or to this project, which I will call list item.ts. And all I will do here is create an interface of type list item or name list item, and I will define my object here. Now what this does is that thanks to TypeScript, I can from now on go to my shopping list component, and wherever I had this type definition here, I can just enter list item and make sure to export this. I can then import this list item from this list item file, and I can replace it with list item. All those notations here can be replaced with list item. And that's just a TypeScript thing. This won't even get compiled to JavaScript because there are no interfaces in JavaScript and there is no typing in JavaScript. But for us here, in the development environment, where we will get like errors if we are trying to match unmatchable types and so on, this is a much shorter way to write clean code. So I'm just replacing all those type declarations here with list item. And again, here I have to import or add this import. And now that's a lot shorter and more relaxing to use. Now that hasn't helped us with the selection of the item though, so let's focus on that now. I want to be able to select the item by clicking on it in the list here. So we'll add a click event where I execute the onSelect method, and I will pass the list item, which is this local variable here again, to the method. So down here, I will create this onSelect method where I know I get an item of type, there again it is, list item, much shorter. And here I want then to use this selected item, the property of our class here, and set it equal to the item we're getting passed here. So now the selected item is the item on which we just clicked, right? So we're selecting an item by clicking on it. Now right now, selecting it doesn't do anything though. We have to create our separate component which allows us to edit and delete it. So we'll create this component now, and I will just call it shopping list item component. So let me just import this default stuff we always have at the beginning here. And now export class shopping list item component. That's the name of our component. And now I also need to add a selector, which should be shopping list item. And I want to have a template, again with backticks, where I will basically just copy that code I had here when we were creating a new item, because editing is pretty much the same. But I don't need this add item, I just want a delete item button here. So I won't have the onClick method here, I will have the onDelete method here, which I still have to write obviously. And this button will be red, therefore I add the danger class I prepared, which will turn it a little bit red and signal us that we're going in the danger zone here. So we got this. We still got our two-way data binding set up here. So to take advantage of this, let's create an item here, which will be just of the item style we need, but it has no name or amount in it at the beginning. But we're not using our interface here because here we're actually creating an item. We're not just setting the type. And we're doing this so that we can bind to it, because binding it would be hard if it doesn't exist. So that's why we're creating it here. Now we can bind here. Now to be able to use any item we select on the parent component, we need to add an input here so that we can bind our item property in this shopping list item component to whatever we're selecting in our shopping list component, which is the parent of this shopping list item component. So here, the inputs array, I'm using this item, so same name again. So that now in my shopping list, I'm able to use it here, where I will just copy my selector, shopping list item, add it here. And now I'm binding to the item in this shopping list item component, my selected item. So let's save this. And I don't want this line to be here if no item is selected. So I don't want Angular 2 to try to insert this item here or this whole block if we don't actually have an item selected, right? Because this block, this component really only makes sense when we have an item selected. So therefore I will add an ngIf directive, which says if selected item is not null, then you should display this block. So by default, you now see the line is gone, this block is not displayed, because at the beginning of our app, our selected item is not initialized, it is therefore null, and therefore we're not displaying anything here. But if I now add an item, milk, and click on it, well, we're seeing this line. Now for our application to fully display this component, again, we have to add it down here. So we have to add our shopping list item component to the directives metadata and also import it up here. So if we now add milk and click on it, we now got it here, and if I change it, you see that it changes here because the selected item is the item we're selecting here, and it's the same item we're passing to our component. So the two-way data binding is not interrupted. We're still having the two-way data binding with our shopping list here and with the shopping list item where we're binding it to the input fields. So we have this two-way data binding, which is connected across components, which in this case is the behavior we want. So we get that. Last thing is I want to be able to delete this. And this should not be class red, but class danger. By the way, now that I see it. So let me save this, and now I will implement the onDelete method here, which should delete the item from the list items array. Now the list items array is in the shopping list component, which is the parent component to this list item component. Therefore, we will have to emit an event which signals this shopping list component, hey, an item got just deleted in my child component here. I should update my array and delete this item or remove this item from it. Now, we already learned how to do that. First, let me create or add the outputs metadata here, or configuration. And I will name this remove. This will be the name of my event here, of my self-created event. And as always, this will be an event emitter, which I already imported up here because I copied this code. And this will be of type list item, because we're going to pass a list item. Because here we're emitting this event And what are we going to emit? Well, we're emitting our item, the item we got passed into, because that's the only item we can delete in this component. Now in my shopping list component, I can then go to my shopping list item selector here and listen to that removed event. And when we catch one, I want to execute the onRemove method and pass the event $event argument to it. So that is the item that was emitted to us. And then here I have my onRemove method. And I know that I'll be receiving an item of type list item. And now what I will do is I want to remove it from the array. To do this, I access the array and use the splice method. Then I will find the index of the item that was passed to me that should be removed. And I will, basically splice the array from the position of this item by only one position to only delete this item. So this removes the item from the array. And then I will set my selected item to null because I no longer have it selected because it no longer exists. Let's try if this works. Milk 1 selected, deleted, it's gone. Milk 1, milk 2, deleted, edit it, add a new one, salad 2, this is still the milk name here, pick the salad, delete it, great! So our whole to-do or shopping list it is, I don't know why I said to-do list, our whole shopping list is working. We got the ability to add items, to change them, to delete them, and to see them, obviously. And that is a really nice application we built in a couple of minutes with all the knowledge you already gathered. So you're well prepared now to try out your knowledge on your very first applications that really are the core fundamentals we covered up until now. Now what we'll cover in the next section are services, which allow us to have some functionalities which might be needed by several components, be that accessing data or doing some calculations, stored in a central point, which we can then inject into components to access it there and to have this cross-component way of accessing centralized functions and, logic. We'll have a look at this in the next section. See you there. Bye.